Delhi, Ontario, known as the heart of tobacco country, was settled by Frederick Sovereign around 1812. Originally called Sovereign's Corners, the community was renamed Fredericksburg before, in 1856, changing its name to Delhi. Sovereign was a staple in the community. He was a tavern keeper for more than 30 years, manufactured plug tobacco, donated the land for the Baptist church, and served as the deacon for a period of time. A railway was built through the town in the 1870s and was crucial to the town's growth. Businesses could now start shipping their products all across Canada without having to travel far. One of these businesses was the Delhi Canning Company, which was established in 1878. They were now able to ship their canned local produce across the country with ease. Prior to the 1880s, Delhi was a lumber-rich community. They had their very own lumber mill, thanks to the large amount of water running through the town. The Delhi Mill was purchased from Jacob Sovereign in 1874 by Richard Quantz. It's estimated by the Middleton Township that the first documentation of the sawmill and grist mill was 1849, but it's believed that the sawmill may have been in existence since the mid-1830s. Richard Quantz had purchased the sawmill for his son Peter, who repaid him back for the property several years later. Peter Quantz ran the grist mill, the sawmill, the planing mill, and the woolen mill between 1874 and 1891. Peter's brother, Robert Quantz Sr., assisted Peter in running the mills from 1891 until their partnership dissolved in 1916. Peter retained the flour mill, while Robert ran the sawmill and planing mill. With the tobacco boom of the late 1920s, the Delhi sawmill played an extremely important role in providing the lumber needed for the construction of greenhouses, lath sticks, park barns, and most importantly, tobacco kilns. The buildings used to cure/dry the tied tobacco leaves. In 1970, both the sawmill and planing mill closed after the death of Robert Quantz Jr., the son of Robert Quantz.
Tobacco, the richest cash crop in Ontario.
The shift from the lumber industry to tobacco was necessary when several trees in the area were cut down and a dusty soil remained. Although now the sandy soil is well suited for numerous other crops, the chalky dirt worked even better for the tobacco plant. During the late 1800s, the primary tobacco grown in Ontario was burley tobacco, an air-cured or fire-cured leaf. It was much heavier and stronger than the southern brightleaf popular in the United States at the time. This kind of tobacco was cut and hung in a well-ventilated barn and allowed to dry, air-cured, over a period of 4 to 8 weeks. Fire-cured burley is hung in large barns where a hardwood fire is kept in a low soldering state and takes from 3 to 10 weeks to complete the curing process.
Most of the cure men come up for the harvest from the American South. His job is to keep a regulated fire going in the kiln, which will raise the temperature gradually for 5 or 6 days while the green leaf turns golden. And if he makes a mistake, the farmer's lost $1,500 worth of tobacco.
The first tobacco plot wasn't planted in Norfolk County until 1920. By 1927, flue-cured tobacco was on the rise in southwestern Ontario. Flue-cured crops were able to thrive in the dry fox soil dubbed by the agricultural crowd. This type of soil is very dry, making it unprofitable to many farmers growing other crops. To tobacco farmers, this soil was perfect. The soil was suitable for growing brightleaf tobacco, and the land, once considered worthless, began to rise in price for those looking to cash in on the tobacco craze sweeping the area. After the 1920s, many farmers growing burley tobacco switched to growing flue-cured, since they soon faced bans in Canada for burley. Oftentimes, sugar is added to burley tobacco to lessen its intense, dark, cigar-like flavor. The Delhi Tobacco Auction Exchange Hall was one of 3 warehouses in the Ontario Tobacco Belt. Daily auctions were held in Tillsonburg, Aylmer, and Delhi that allowed tobacco farmers to bring their product in and companies to inspect and purchase the product firsthand. Buyers from competing companies walked the rows of tobacco, examining and grading bales by row and by position. The auction houses were always filled with excitement and became a great place for the community to come together. As doctors became more aware of the connection between smoking and cancer, tobacco sales started to decline. During the 1960s, there were around 4,500 tobacco farms in Canada. By the 1970s, that number had decreased to 3,000. As of 2021, there are only 169 licensed flue-cured tobacco growers in Ontario, and 17 non-flue-cured tobacco growers left in the province. In Canada today, 90% of tobacco is grown in Ontario, many still remaining in Norfolk County and near Delhi. The Delhi Tobacco Museum and Heritage Center stands as a physical reminder of what was once a thriving industry in the area. Built in 1979 as a model of a typical tobacco barn, the museum houses exhibits on tobacco, ginseng, and other agriculture grown in Norfolk County. As Canada's only tobacco museum, they've taken on the huge task of preserving the history of an industry that once dominated the area. Quance Park is a beautiful green space with signs depicting historical buildings located near their original plots. The mills and river were critical in the establishment of Delhi, providing the town with ample opportunity for growth. In 1981, the township of Delhi, with the assistance of the Ontario Ministry of Culture and Recreation, erected a replica of the original Quance sawmill, which provides a scenic view over Big Creek and the Quance Dam. The Delhi Rail Trail was originally part of a working railway called the Air Line, under the ownership of the Great Western Railway in 1872. The station in Delhi was built in 1880, near the corner of William and Main Streets. The station burnt down in 1916 after hot embers from a nearby locomotive landed on the roof. The station was then reconstructed and provided passenger service until 1960. The idea for the Delhi Rail Trail began in 2006, and a committee was formed under the leadership of Francis Edmonds to start the project. Running between Delhi and Simcoe at nearly 14 kilometers, the trail passes through old fields, farmhouses, and forests along the countryside. The trail is open year-round, and the perfect spot for backpacking, hiking, birding, cycling, and cross-country skiing.
Sunday afternoon, down in the Grove, the Hungarians have a picnic. The tobacco farmers around Delhi are almost all Belgian, Hungarian, German, or Polish in origin.
Delhi is home to many families of European descent, including German, Belgian, Hungarian, and Polish residents. The Delhi District German Home has become known as a gathering place for weddings, parties, and other special events. Opened in 1950, the club was created for the community to come together while also providing a link to the people of German descent as a way to preserve tradition. The German Home and the German Home Ladies Society have become a pillar of the area, providing social activities and delicious meals for various functions. Wholesome Pickens Market is an incredible local place to buy produce, baked goods, cheese, meats, and other local treats from Norfolk County. The Vandervelde Farm has been in operation since the 1930s, when Archie Vandevelde immigrated from Belgium and started growing tobacco. The current owners, David and Jen Vandevelde, chose to take the farm in a new direction in 2007 by planting strawberries and haven't looked back since. Small towns and communities are being forgotten, and I think that's why I feel so passionately about this project. It's hard to watch larger areas and cities get funding for museums, events, and other ways to preserve their local history, while rural areas struggle to keep afloat. I thought Delhi perfectly encapsulated not only Norfolk County's agricultural history, but what it means to be a small town trying to find its footing today.